As I said before, the topic of this panel is not either cheerful or bright, but it's very important. It's no secret that women of all ages all over the world are exposed to hate speech and online abuse. Girls are the most sensitive category. After all, I believe that many of you have seen the series 13 Reasons Why, so you are aware how dangerous things can be. But I have a great pleasure to host 3 young feminists who are brave and very active in the field of fighting against all kinds of abuse of women and girls. You met Milica on our previous session, but beside her, it's my honor to introduce Sanja Pavlović from Autonomni Women's Center and Hana Ćurak, the girl behind very popular website and Facebook meme page. Those are all witches or SveSuToVještice, which is, as I said, famous for its incredibly humorous but sharp memes and quotes. So, hello girls and welcome to this panel. I hope you're all well. Hello. Let's start with the question that is like the most general of all. What types of hate speech are specific when we speak about young girls from your experience and work in the field? Maybe we can start with Sanja.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm really glad to be part of this panel. I'm looking forward to this talk. Yeah, I have a very specific answer to that question because we, among other things, in the campaign, I can choose to say no, love is not violence. We did research on digital violence among youth, and what we saw is that girls are most exposed to different forms of usually sexual violence. And that includes sexual comments, blackmails, revenge porn, or some kind of sexual harassment in the form of receiving unwanted intimate picture of someone. So we can see the difference. Boys are also exposed to different forms of digital violence, especially, for example, threats. But we see that when it comes to girls, it's always with some kind of sexual connotation and it's always a bit sexist.
Thank you, Sanja. Hana, I would like to hear from you when it comes to our next question. Do you ever think who are those people who write and say these nasty things to girls? What do they look like? What are their lives? What their lives look like? Are they aware of how much they hurt another human being that is on the other side of the screen?
No, absolutely. I mean, hi everyone. It's good to be here. When it comes to people who write these nasty things, I don't think they have any awareness about what's actually what effect that can have. The layer of internet just not being present with another person also gives another dimension to this violence. It's much easier to write nasty things. It's much easier to hurt someone over internet when you don't see that person, when you don't know them. Who are these people? Well, I mean, I often end up on various profiles of people who write these things, and most frequently it's people who are nationalists, who have PTSD. That's actually it's connected to our region as well. So and it's mostly men who are older than those women who they attack.
But Hana, stay a little bit with me right now. If they have PTSD, as you said, is that justification? Can we say, well, poor man, he has PTSD, so that's why he does these nasty things?
Absolutely not. There's people who suffer from various mental illnesses. That's not a taboo. Who do not engage in these kinds of activities. Of course, it just depends on how ethical and moral, I guess, you are. But these are things that can be worked with. It's just that we haven't tackled them to an extent that would actually produce different kind of communication culture in the Western Balkans.
Yeah, actually, my next question is something that I would like all three of you to answer. When it comes to, we already practically mentioned some sort of trauma that comes from those who produce hate speech, but also my impression is that we do not talk enough about the feelings of targeted girls when we speak about hate speech and online abuse. What can we do to make their feelings recognized enough in a society that usually tells them to ignore, or even worse, to stop provoking what they are dealing with? So how to address their feelings properly, and how to deal with the shame that they feel because they are feeling bad when they are targeted by online abuse. So whoever wants to start, because I really like to hear the opinion of all three of you.
I can give sort of my side, because actually when I first started the channel, I got so many messages from girls, especially girls who live in small rural towns, that say, you know, they send pictures to someone they trusted, and now they're threatening to post them everywhere. And the issue is because they then feel the shame for taking those pictures, and they know that if those pictures get leaked, it's never going to be the fault of the guy who leaked them. It's going to be, oh, shame on you for taking them. So I think a big first steps is teaching girls, you have the right to do that. You have the right to take pictures of yourself. And if you send them to someone, you did not give them consent to then give that to someone else to spread it around. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. And then I think when we do that, then girls are going to start speaking up more, because now every time I get that message, they always end it with, oh, and if you're going to share this, please keep it anonymous. So the moment we say, no, this isn't something that I deal with in private, everyone should know what kind of person this guy is who wants to share my pictures that I trusted him with. Then we're going to start like moving the conversation into the way that we want it to go.
Recently, we had a case in Serbia actually by an adult woman who is a lawyer, by the way. She was threatened to be exposed by revenge porn, and she notified everyone on all of her social media platforms that somebody is blackmailing her. So that was really, I think, empowering moment for girls in general. Sanja, the same question actually. How to send a message to girls that it is completely okay if they feel bad for what they are going through at the moment when they are targeted?
Well, my answer is a bit completely like the same as Milica's. I think the surroundings of those girls is very important. I think that the family has a great role in this. The schools also have a great role, but also the online surrounding. I think it's important to have as many voices of women and men who are on the side of the victims, who are there to support them. And besides that, I think it's also important to have some kind of safe place for those girls that they can share among each other what is happening, and have the understanding of each other, that they know they are not alone, and that they are not guilty for the things that are happening to them, that the responsibility is never on them. I think that's very important. I also would like to emphasize that we are talking about psychological consequences of those kinds of hate speech and violence. But it's also important to know that when a young girl is being abused online, she will then face much more consequences in her future. There were girls who told us that they don't want to be online after that. They don't want to use social networks. They don't want to use internet. And I think that's something that can have a huge impact on their future and on the future of the whole society if we don't have women who are online, who are doing different things on the internet. I think it's a very big story, and I think it has to be said.
Thank you, Sanja. And Hana, what would be your answer when it comes to feeling bad and not having your feelings recognized as legitimate?
It's a good question. I think we're mostly on our own, I would say, and it's excellent to have these bottom to top support networks, like, for example, Draga, devojčice YouTube channel. I think that helps a lot. And of course, developing healthy coping mechanisms, like, for example, humor. Of course, these things cannot counter hate speech to their full extent, but they can help in summation of the consequences, I would say.
Thank you, Hana. My next question is also for all three of you, but I would like to start with Sanja because the two of us are working together on this one and trying to raise awareness and change things on that field. So when we speak about the hate speech, why is it important to recognize the gender component in it and to specifically analyze and monitor what happens to girls and women? Even if we know that all genders are equally targeted by hate speech. But when it comes to gender component in girls, why is it important to address it as a gender matter?
I think it's important because the consequences are a bit different in a way, and the acts themselves of abuse and hate speech are also different. As I said, it usually contains some kind of sexual connotation when it's impacted women and girls. I would also say that when we talk about young girls, usually those kind of abuse is coming. Although it's happening online, it's coming from their partners or their ex-partners or the people in their surrounding. And when we talk about women in the public sphere, it's coming from like the men all over the internet. I think it's important because we have to know what are the consequences, how it impacts women and men differently, and boys and girls. And as I said, and it's also like visible in the research that I already mentioned. Girls are usually feeling much more scared than boys when they face similar attacks on internet. And boys are usually saying, it's not a big deal. And it does affecting them, but it won't prevent them of using internet again. And for girls, it could happen.
Thank you. So, Hana, what do you think? When it comes to gender component, why is it important to analyze it independently when it comes to all forms of online abuse and hate speech?
Well, when it comes to our space, so I'm focusing on the post-Yugoslavian space, I think it's important to tackle these things to a large extent because we live in an extremely patriarchal surrounding. In which it is important to teach women to act differently. And when it comes to a global picture, of course, the gender dimension is extremely important. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just this whole patriarchal structure that conditions lives of women across the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, we heard at the beginning of this day the testimonials from Syrian women and what they go through. So, Milica, when we speak about gender dimension, do you think that it is important to analyze it separately from all other sorts of online abuse?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have a very good practical example. So this is especially on TikTok, but on other news media as well, social media. So basically, women, as a rebuttal to gendered violence, came up with the satirical hashtag #KillAllMen, which is, there's divisions over whether or not that was a good move. But as a rebuttal to that, the men on the app started using a hashtag #RapeAllWomen, which is, even ignoring the historical aspect of it and why when women say kill all men, it's just satirical and it's rebuttal. The question that we always ask the guys who use it for women is, if that was just a response to kill all men, why did you change the word? Why did you change it from kill to rape? It's almost as if they know that, 1 in 4 women experience sexual violence in their lives. So it's the threat of sexual violence because it is real, because so many women experience it. So as I think Sanja mentioned, women are more afraid. Of course they're more afraid because it actually happens. When they're threatened with sexual violence, they're afraid because maybe they've already experienced it, or they know someone who's experienced it. They heard the stories. Of course they're afraid. So I think it's so important to talk about that on that level. Like, why is it different? Why do we make those gender differences when we harass people?
And we just got a couple of questions from the audience, so I will already start with it because there are a couple of them that are really, really interesting and they are kind of close to the things that we are talking right now. So Milica from Smederevo asks, what should be the role of men in countering hate speech against women?
My message would be for men and boys to listen and to support and to not make it about themselves. So it's about women and girls, and be aware of that. If you want to be a supporter in this fight, you are free to do it, you're welcome to do it, you're supposed to do it. Just don't make it about yourself. Be there to listen.
Yeah. And
to just add to that, call out your buddies. Like when your friend makes a joke that is derogatory to women, or if it's, if they are being misogynistic and sexist, call them out. Don't just be like, oh yeah, it's just him. Call him out. Call out your friends. That's what you should do.
Yeah, forget about boys will be boys. Sorry, Hana.
Sorry, I jumped in. I just wanted to add on that. I think that's the most important thing. There's boys who are raised by feminist mothers, who once they go into school are faced with these patriarchal constellations that are set up for them, and then they start to participate in patriarchal patterns of behavior. I think there's not so much awareness about this problem. And this is something that we should be working on in order to, from the very start, change the environment in which boys grow up in, and therefore make them more of our friends than enemies.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add something about what Sanja said. So when she said listen to your female friends, it actually means, offer them your help, but don't do anything on your own. Ask them what they need, what kind of help they need, and then provide it for them. Do not suggest anything that they wouldn't want you to do. So my next question may be a little bit too close to home, but answer only if you feel comfortable. But as an adult women who are all exposed to hate speech at some point and in some way, how do you feel and react when you are exposed to online abuse or hate speech? I repeat, as adult women.
So I can, so I get, because I sort of put myself out there, it's just me, especially as a queer woman online, I received plenty of death threats, not just hate speech, but actual death threats. And sometimes it can just sort of, just passes over, I don't pay them any mind. But sometimes if I put out a video that some people find especially offensive, like talking about queer topics, then the slew. At one point, I posted a video, and one day I got like nearly 100 death threats. And it got to me. It really did. Like, I had to just, give my phone to my girlfriends to just, like, moderate the messages in the comments. Because I don't want to shut everything down, because I know that people reach out for, like, help and support. Like, I honestly couldn't handle it. So I actually just stepped away for about a week. Like, I stepped away from all of my media, just didn't post anything, didn't, like, open it, just to sort of reset. Because even though, like, it got to me, because how can it not? We're just human. I just had to like step back and then, let it pass and just remember, okay, the haters, the abusers, they're not who I'm doing this for. So I just need to focus on like who I'm doing this for.
Hana, as I said, only if you feel comfortable to answer this question.
Well, I was recently a target of, so when it comes to SveSuToVještice, there's really not so much hate speech, because it's a humoristic website, and some people who would be, usual suspects for hate speech actually just don't understand these levels, so they think it's funny and then they don't negatively react to it. So that's a different story. I personally was recently a target of targeted hate speech, which had political connotations. So it was, I would say, like a mini planned action of a couple of young PTSD alt-right guys from Bosnia. My heart is racing right now. It was really difficult to deal with that. It really had a psychological impact on me. But when it comes to countering them, I took a stand. I just said, shame on you for doing this. I didn't engage in any, I didn't engage in any responses from there. And I blocked them all on Twitter. And that's it.
Sanja, I mostly know you as a rock and support for those who are under the attack, but did you have experiences like this, and how did you feel?
Yeah, you actually surprised me with the question. I wasn't thinking about that, but it is part of my experience, of course. I was exposed to different forms of online abuse. Most of them I don't see as something serious, because most of them are comments like "go back to the kitchen" or something like that, or "your hair is bad" or something like that. When I'm visible at, for example, when I'm visible at the protests of Women in Black, so as I am active there also, then I have received a lot of both rape and death threats, and it's not something. As Hana said, it has to have some kind of psychological consequences. But what I also did is what I advised to girls also: block report. I mean, screenshot, block, report, and that's what I did. So I blocked and reported all the threats. Unfortunately, nothing happened. I have to admit that. But
Sanja,
anyway,
excuse me. When you say report, do you mean report to social media platform or to the official bodies in your country?
Both, but I reported to the police that works with these kind of cases, and yes, as I said, unfortunately nothing happened. But anyway, the platform itself did something, and they deleted the account. So something is possible to do. And besides that, I also talk with my female friends. I think that's something that is, for me, it's healing.
Thank you very much for answering this question. Actually, I asked you this so the young girls should know that even the adult women, when they are exposed to this sort of experience, it takes psychological toll, and it's completely legitimate, and it shouldn't be a reason for them to feel any sort of shame if they actually feel bad. We have another question from the audience. It says like this: we do talk about this topic a lot, which proves how much violence towards women is spread and accepted in our society. But after hearing about these testimonials, nothing else happens. Why? What can we as individuals do to change this? I'm interested too in this question, and unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe I could jump in. When it comes to individual efforts, I think it's really important. When you see somebody is dealing with some idiots on Twitter or on Instagram or something like that, help these people report. But don't just go to the report button. Write a complaint, because there's also that option on all social media. The complaint writing, especially when there's more than 5 or 10 complaints on for the same profile, that is what makes a difference. That is what makes a difference online. But then when it comes to policy, when it comes to actually this spillover into real life, into the analog world, there's a lot to be done through politics, I think, mostly. And this is where the post-Yugoslavian space is really, really bad.
Sanja and Milica, I will rephrase this question a little bit, since you both have so many activities that actually do offer support groups practically. So the question is about what individuals can do, but maybe they could join support groups. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I would say that like the first thing that every individual can do is support the person who is being harassed or who has like violence against them. You know, it's one thing to report the harasser, which is so important, but we can't forget the victim. So when I see, especially in, let's say, like more popular people online, you know, when they get harassed for some or other reason, I try to reach out personally. So it's not just like to comment like, hey, I support you. It's like actually send the message like, hey, are you okay? Do you need to talk? Because, you know, if you get like 100 like supportive messages and one hate comment, the hate comment is going to stick out. So you need like as much support as you can to drown out the hate. So I think that part is so important. And then as far as the support groups, like for example, I had a Discord server where girls could support each other. Unfortunately, I had shut it down because I couldn't keep it a safe space, because as soon as it started to grow, you know, a couple hundred people, I could no longer moderate it, and there was like homophobia, and there was actually some misogynistic comments, which I could not believe. So yeah, I think we need to create those safe spaces, and I think that individuals, like girls, can do it themselves, like make their own like girl gang, you know, and then support each other, and then grow it however you want, however much you want.
Sanja, how about you?
A lot of is already said. I would like to ask the young people who are somewhere on the internet, if they notice something, to stand up against it. I think that's very important, because a lot of hate speech is happening, actually, when it's happening on the internet, it's happening with the audience. So everybody is involved in a way, and everybody can see what is happening. So in that sense, I think it's important to step up. I think it's also important to take care of your own safety. And if you are somewhere in between and if you don't know what to do, you can always write to the page Mogu da neću. I can say no. This is also something that I forgot to mention when you asked about what girls can do. And I'm also inviting girls who are experiencing any kind of online abuse to reach out to us. We are there to talk, we are there to support and to listen.
We are practically running out of time, so this will not require a verbal answer. I will really ask you and ask our technicians to keep us all 4 on the screen. So for all the girls that are watching us, please raise your hand if you declare yourselves as feminists. Thank you all. thank you all for this wonderful panel and for taking part in BNMF this year.